Hey, what's up YouTube? Today I'm going to show you how to create a modern looking navigation bar and hero section using NextJS 13 and TailwindCSS. This will be responsive on all devices, and this is how it is going to look. So we're going to create this cool looking landing navigation page, and the navigation bar on the bottom is static and stays still at the bottom. This is only for desktop version only. We're going to have this cool typed package where it shows that it looks like a typewriter. We're also going to have a button right here with an opacity that looks like it's about to be clicked. And we're going to have like a mini carousel right here to show some of our work off. If you look at it on the mobile device, it is the same as well. And we also have a mobile navigation section right here that opens up when we click the hamburger menu. So if this sounds interesting to you and it looks cool that you want to create, stick tuned, watch the tutorial. Also, before we start, if you could hit that like button and subscribe for more content similar to this, that will be greatly appreciated. So let's jump right into it. Okay, so before we start coding any of our project, we need to set up the environment. And we're going to use NextJS 13 framework. So we need to open up our terminal to set up and create the project. So we are going to go into our terminal. And we are going to change directories into where we keep all of your code. So after we're in the directory where we keep all of your code and projects, we are going to open up a Google Chrome, and I'm going to go to the NextJS 13 docs. We will go to the automatic installation, and we are going to use this terminal command right here, create-next-app at latest. We will copy that, paste this, space, and then we need to create the project name. I will create YouTube Tut 1. And now it's going to create our NextJS 13 project, and it's going to prompt us to a few questions. We don't have to use TypeScript, so that's no. ESLint, no. TailwindCSS, yes. The source directory, no. App router, yes. And we're going to leave the import alias as default, so that's no. So now it's going to initialize the project and also install any required dependencies. This should take about 15 seconds. After this goes and is ready to go, we're going to cd back into our project, which is YouTube Tut 1. And then we're just going to type code dot, and that's going to open up my text editor, which is VS Code. We can close the terminal. I'm going to open this full screen, and we have a boilerplate NextJS 13 project in the works. So for this, we are going to really focus on the app directory. And the app directory has a page.js, which is your home page. We will remove everything inside of the return. We will create a section tag element, and then h1 saying home. Remove the image import tag at the top. And then we have a root layout, which wraps all of the children, which is technically our whole project. And this means we could add our navigation bar here because we want the navigation bar on the top of every page. So we are going to have our navigation bar imported in here. And then the global CSS, remove lines 5 through 27. We're going to keep lines 1 through 3 because we're using TailwindCSS. Next thing I want to do is I want to organize this a little better. So we're going to create a folder inside of the app directory called components. And then we're going to create a file in there called navbar.jsx. And then I'm going to use a snippet, which is from the extension ES7. And it is this extension right here, ES7 React Redux React Native Snippets. It is worth it because you could type in RAFCE and it will create a React functional arrow component. So we're going to remove the import from React at the top, and inside of the layout, we're going to import the Navbar. So to do that, we're going to import Navbar from the components folder and the Navbar file. We will put it right inside of the body, right above the children. So we're going to have the navbar as a self-closing tag, and now the navbar is on every page inside of the children. So let's open up our terminal, run npm run dev. It's going to open up on localhost 3001 for me because I already have something running on localhost 3000. So what we're going to do is we're going to open up localhost 3001, and we are going to see here at the top left where it says navbar and home. So everything looks like it is working good and correct. Now we could actually start coding our code, and we're going to start in the navbar.jsx section. Okay, so first thing we're going to do inside the nav is everything in the return we could delete, and we will create a nav element tag. And first thing we're going to do is we're going to style that nav element tag. This is going to encompass the whole navigation bar. So we're going to have a width of full. We're also going to have it fixed. We will have a Z index of 100. We're going to have a custom background color, so we need to use brackets of ECF0F3 and brackets as well. And then we'll have shadow of extra large, which will be on the bottom, and we're going to have a height of 20. So that's what we're going to have right now for our navigation bar. And then one quick tip before we keep going, since we are using TailwindCSS, there is another extension you should download, and that is called Tailwind IntelliSense, and it is right here, and it gives you recommendations, it gives you syntax highlighting, it gives you a bunch of features. If you're using Tailwind CSS, this is a must-have. So make sure you install this extension and start working with it. All right, so next section we want to do is we want to have our section where the logo and the hamburger menu is. So we're going to have a div, and then we are going to style this div as well. So we're going to have a class name of flex. We're going to have item center. And then on bigger screens than mobile, we're going to justify center. So we're going to justify our logo center. And then on mobile screens, we're going to justify between, because we're going to have the hamburger menu on the right and the logo on the left. And then we're going to have a height of full and a width of full. Okay, so inside now of this div, we want our logo. So we want it to be clickable too. It actually navigates us back to the home page. So we need a link tag. And this is from next/link, and you have to import it at the top. One property it takes is the href, which is the path of where you're going to actually go. So that is where we're going to go, which is the home page. And inside of the link, we are going to have the image. And we need to import the image component from next/image as well. And now we also need an image. So the next thing I'm going to do is we are going to go to Google Chrome, and where I get a lot of my images is from canva.com. So canva.com, they have a free version and they also have a paid version. The paid version is $12 a month. That's USD in dollars. And that's what I have. And I think Canva is 100% worth it. You could do a bunch of different social media posts. You could create your own logo. So all you have to do is type in logo, press enter, and it's going to give you a bunch of logo templates that are very modern and minimalistic. They also have more complex logos as well, but any of these logos will work. And if you do want the pro version, you can click the link down in the description below. I am an affiliate, so I do get a cutback of if you do pay through my link, but it doesn't cost you any extra. So this is where we're going to do our logo. I already have my logo on my computer. So I am just going to drag and drop the logo inside of the public folder. So to do that, you drag and drop. And now the logo is in a PNG format, transparent background. I'm just going to rename the logo to logo. So it's logo.png. And now we must import it at the top. So import logo from .. and it's public /logo.png. Okay, so the first property of the image tag is a source. The source is going to be our logo. Next, we need an alt tag. We could do this as a logo. After the alt tag, we need a width and height. So our width, which I've already tested out before this video, we're going to use 305. And then the height is also going to be 305 as well. And how I got these certain values is I just tested and did trial and error on what looked best. But if you're just copying my code, you don't have to do that. It's dummy proof and you could just copy it. And then I'm going to have the image as a priority, which means it's going to make sure that this image is loaded in correctly compared to other images on your page. And this is a self-closing tag. So now we closed it, we could check to make sure everything looks good. And there is our desktop version. of our navigation bar. And if we inspect it, there is our mobile version. It looks like it's slightly to the left. So everything looks really good right now. Next thing we are going to do is we're going to add the hamburger menu. So right below the link, we are going to have a div. And inside of this div, the hamburger menu is considered an icon, and we have no packages downloaded yet. So we are going to download a package that is pretty popular. So let's stop the terminal. And the package is React icons. So npm-react-icons. So we have the React icons, and now we could use the React icons library to get this hamburger menu. And we have to import those icons at the top. And we're going to import them right here. I'm just going to copy and paste them over from my other code. We have the AI outline menu and the AI outline close from react-icon/AI. Okay, so inside of this div we created here, we can have that AI outline menu. And then this is going to have a few class names, which this is how it's going to look. We're going to have a text of 3XL. And then on smaller screens and up, which is a minimum width of 640 pixels, so that's like your desktop and more, it's not going to show. So on desktop, this AI menu outline will not show. It'll only show on mobile devices. The text will be 2XL. 3XL is a little too big, and then we're going to have the cursor as pointer. And then if we look at the code and we inspect it on a mobile device, we must actually restart the server and run it because it's not running. So we're not going to see any updates. We will go back to the localhost 3001, refresh the page, and we will see the hamburger menu right here popped up, but is hugging this right side. So we need some margin on the right. So for this div right here, that's encompassing the AI outline menu, we're going to have a margin right of 6. Look at it again. Now it looks 100% better. Okay, so now we're going to work on the mobile version listed items. But before we do that, we do need to add some state to see if the mobile navigation bar is open or not. So to do that, we're going to add the use state hook from React. And if we are using any hooks, or we need to make this a client-side rendered page. Because by default, every NextJS 13 file is server-side rendered. So we have to import use state from React. So now we could use use state, and we're going to initialize it here at the top. And what we are going to do is we're going to name it something that we're actually doing. So this is going to be the menu. So we're going to say menu open and then set menu open. So this is the value, and this is going to be the function that changes the value. And our initial value is technically false because that's what we said here. So now we could use this state to actually manipulate the code to our liking. So right below this div right here, we are going to just comment something saying mobile version listed items. And then inside the mobile listed version items, we're going to have a div. And this div, we are going to style it with a ternary operator. So that means we're going to say if the menu open is true, right? We are going to have this style for it. So we're going to have left 0, top 0, and then we're going to have a width of 65%. The height is going to be screen, is going to be relative position wise. We're going to have that custom colored background that we've been using. We're going to have the ease in. It's going to ease in as the transition. We're going to have a duration of 500. We're also going to have a display as flex. And then we're going to have it flex columns, and then we're going to justify the start. All the items will be justified start, and then we're going to have a Z of 50. So that's if the menu open is considered true. And it will only be considered true if they click this AI outline menu, which actually there is no logic to it yet. But let's just finish this CSS real quick right here. So if the menu open is false, which it is initially, all of this code underneath, we're going to have it hidden. That means we're on a desktop or they didn't click the actual AI menu outline, so the menu is not going to be open. But let's create a function right below this state right here called handle. We could say handle menu. It's going to be an arrow function, and we're going to use the set menu open function, and we're going to make the menu open the opposite of whatever it is. So if they click it, it will be true. If they click again, it will be false, and it'll just go back and forth from true to false every time they click. And then we need to implement this function inside of our code. So we're going to have an on-click event handler right here, and this is going to call that function. So if we click this AI outline menu, it is going to turn to true. And if we click it again, it will be false. So let's look at the code. If we click it, our navigation bar at the left shows up on the mobile. Click it again, it closes. Perfect. So everything is working as it should. Now let's work on the actual listed items below. And the first thing we want to do inside the div is we want to be able to close it if the mobile menu is open. So we're going to use the other React icon, which is the AI outline close. And we're going to have the on-click event handler, and it's going to have the handle menu function. And the class name, we're going to have text of 2XL. We will have a text of black. And we're going to have the cursor be a pointer, which technically we don't need because it is just going to be on mobile. So we don't need that. But we need a margin bottom of 4 because we want to give space to the bottom. And then also, let's style where this AI outline close is actually going to be. So it's going to be a flex display. We're going to use absolute positioning. We're going to put a top 6, right 6, width full, justify end, and then we're going to have item center. So that is going to position this AI outline close, which I can show you. And it's right there, the X. We click it, it closes. So now our mobile version navigation bar is fully functional and working. Now we just have to add the listed items, which we will do real quick right now. So to add listed items, the technical correct way to do it is having a UL, unordered list. And inside of the unordered list, we need listed items. So each unordered list is going to be styled with a display of flex. We're going to have a flex column. And then we're going to justify all the items center. We'll have the item center as well. And then we're going to have a margin top of 20. So now for the listed items, we're going to style it as well. We're going to have the text as 2XL. We will have the text black. And we'll have margin bottom of 4. And then we just need to type what each listed item is. And then we could also link these as well. So they need to have link components. First one we can do is going to be going to the home page, so we'll call it home. And then we could just copy the listed item, those 3 lines. We'll press Shift, Alt, and the down arrow, and we will copy this down 3 times. So 1, 2, 3. We'll name the first one pricing. Second one contact, and then the fourth one we can name portfolio. And then we'll change the navigation, the path of where it's going. So the first pricing one will go to the pricing, the contact will go to the contact, and the portfolio, the portfolio. And we have not created any of these pages, so technically none of these pages will work, and they'll just go to an error page. So let's just make sure everything is working inside our navigation. So on the mobile screen, we have this, we open it, we have all of the listed items with links attached. We could press X and that works perfect. And then on the desktop, we're just going to have the navigation with the logo at the top. because we're going to create the navigation listed items on the bottom to make it more of a cool effect. Now we're going to actually start creating the desktop navigation, which, like I said, is fixed to the bottom of the page and is only visible on desktops, tablets, and it's just not visible on mobile phones. So inside the components, we can create a new file. We could just call this desktop navbar.jsx. Let me rename it. And then inside the desktop navbar, we're just going to do an RAFCE for React functional component. And then let's import this inside of the layout. And we could just do this right below the navbar. So now it's imported in our layout, and it should be visible now when we actually code. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to move everything inside of the div. In this parent div, we are going to start styling now. So we're going to have a class name. First, it's going to be fixed. Then it is going to be hidden on mobile devices. And then on small devices and up, we're going to have a display of flex. The width is going to be full. The bottom will be 0. The bottom will be 10. We'll have it not quite at the bottom, so we'll have the bottom of 10. We'll have a Z index of 40. We will have text center. We're also going to have the items center. And then we're going to justify everything center as well. Okay, so that is the parent div right there. And then right below the parent div, we're going to have one more div. So inside of this div, we are going to do a background of black. We will have a display of flex, items center. Text will be white. We're going to have the edges rounded full. Margin left and right will be auto. The max width that we want is going to be 660 pixels. So it's not going to be the full width like it is, but the parent div does have a width of full. But anything inside of this, the max width can't be more than 660 pixels. And then the padding left and right is going to be 3, and then padding top and bottom will be 5. Okay. So the first listed item, so let's do an unordered list real quick. So unordered list, and then we'll have a listed item. The first listed item is going to be a React icon. And that is going to be that arrow that points up, so we could actually navigate back to the top of the page. So we're going to import the icon up here, which is the SL arrow up. We are going to do a self-closing tag, and then we're going to have a class name of text of 2XL. We'll do margin left and right of auto. And then we're going to have a cursor of a pointer. So when we scroll over, it's going to show a pointer. Now let's style the unordered list. The display will be flex. The gap will be 10. We're going to justify around. We'll have the text as extra large. And the items will be center. Now for every listed item, let's style that as well. So for this one, it's going to be rounded full. The background is going to be a gray of 700. The padding all around is going to be 3. And we're going to have a flex, no wrap as well. So this specific styling is just for this React icon. The other listed items are going to be a little different, so we're going to have to manually type the first one out, and then we could copy and paste it down below. So we're going to have an LI, and inside the LI, we are going to have a link. Or we could put the link around the LI, so let's do that. So the link we have to import at the top, and this first one is going to be the portfolio. And then we could just put the link inside of here like this. And then we could just type in the word portfolio. And this listed item is a portfolio. And now we just need to style this listed item. So on hover, we're going to have a background of white. On hover, the text will be black. On hover, we're going to have a padding of 2. And then on hover, we're going to have the edges rounded full. Another thing, we're going to have an ease in, ease out transition with the duration of 500. And then the cursor will be a pointer. So if we want to make it look clickable. So now we can just copy from link to link and then paste this down 3 times. 1, 2, 3. So we're going to have a pricing, we're going to have an FAQ, and we're going to have a book a call. So we're going to have pricing, FAQ, book a call. Let's just change the path for each one. Pricing, FAQ, and then this one is going to be, we could say schedule. Okay, so now we have one more listed item below, and that is going to be the login, and that login had a background gray of 700. So that's why I didn't keep it here like that. So let's do a link tag, and then the link tag is going to have an href, and this is going to go to the login page. Inside of it we have a li, and it's called login, and let's style it now. So we have a background gray 700, rounded full edges. We're going to keep the actual words tight, so tracking tight, and then we're going to have padding all around of 3. So let's just make sure everything looks good. Let's go to our page, and as you can see here, everything looks functional, everything looks clean, and this is going to be fixed on the bottom up 10. And if you want to see how many pixels that is, you can actually just scroll over this. Where is it? Bottom 10. Are we on the desktop nav? Yeah, we are. We are going to scroll and make sure it's bottom 10. So you can scroll over this, and the bottom is up 40 pixels from the bottom, or 2.5 rems from the bottom as well. So as you can see, everything looks good, but you can't tell that's going to stay on the bottom. But when we have more stuff here, we can actually scroll the page. It will be in a fixed position because of this property right here. The position is fixed from the bottom 10. So that is how you create the desktop navigation. Now let's move on and work on the hero section. So we are going to create another file inside the components, and we will call this hero.jsx. And then we'll do RAFCE, remove the import from the top, and we are going to import this into our home page. So we're going to remove home, and then we'll just have hero, self-closing tab, and then make sure we could auto import it from the components folder and the hero file. Cool, so now we are ready to actually start typing the code, and everything will actually pop up like it should. So for this hero section, we can remove the word hero inside of the div, and we will give the style to the parent div right here. So the height will be the whole screen. The width is going to be the full width. The background is going to be our custom color that we've been using, and we're going to position this as relative. Okay. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add that blur, that orange blur in the background, so it actually animates as well and impulses, and that is going to cover the whole background. So to do that, we need the image component element from next/image, import at the top, and then we also need that source. And the source, I used Canva as well and just searched blur, and I was able to get a nice looking blur transparent file. I'll drag it to my public folder, and there it is. And then we're going to import it at the top. So we're going to import blur from that public folder. Okay, so now we just need the source, and the source is going to be blur. We also need the alt, which is going to be blur. We need the layout, and it's going to be fill. It's going to fill the whole layout. The object fit is going to be cover, And then we're going to have a quality of 100. We're going to make sure this is priority for this hero section, for the image at least. And then I want to give a few styling to it through the class names. So this is going to be in an absolute position, and then we're going to animate. And as you can see, TailwindCSS gives us 4 options to animate using keyframes that they have pre-built into their system. So we're going to use the animate pulse. You can create custom keyframes as well if you want, but they do give you 4 preset keyframes that they've already created for you. So now it's a self-closing tag, and now we could check to see what we have. So as you can see here, we have this cool effect of blurs in the background that pulse. So our hero section is starting to look like an actual modern day hero section with a cool modern navigation bar. So let's keep going and let's work on the main text of this hero section. So we're going to say main text, and this is for the hero section. We're going to have a div, and this div is going to wrap all of the text. Okay, so to do that, let's start styling this parent div for the text. So the display is going to be flex. We're going to have a flex column. We want everything top to bottom. We're going to have the text center. We'll have a margin left and right of auto. We will have the max width of the text to only go to 1260 pixels, because we don't want to take in the full screen, because then the left and right will look like it's just pushing against the borders. So we want to make sure we have this max width. We will have the item center. We will justify everything center as well. And then we're going to have a padding top of 24. And this will give us some room at the top so it looks more centered. But we don't want this text completely centered yet. So then underneath this, we're going to have an H1. This H1, we are going to have a few different things going on inside of it. So we're going to have text that's H1, and then we're going to have a span tag inside of this so we can create that gradient looking text through TailwindCSS. So I'm going to show you exactly how to create gradient looking text, which is a very cool feature to add to your website. So for this, we're going to say a software, and then we will have an empty string. And then let's style this H1 real quick. So we're going to have a class name. We will have the text as 5XL, and this will be on mobile devices. And then on more than mobile devices, the text will be 8XL. And all the media queries are done through your JSX, just like we're doing here. So we're going to have a font bold. We will have the words tracking tight. And then we'll have a Z index of 20. And like I said, inside of this H1, we want that span tag. So right here, we're going to have a span. And we're just going to have the word agency. So this word agency is going to be the word that we are going to have a gradient fill color for. So we need to start styling it here in the class name. So to do that, the only way we can use a gradient in Tailwind is by giving the background as a gradient. So we're going to say BG gradient, and we're going to do it to right. So we're going to the gradients go from left to right. And the first color we have to use is, we could use any colors you want, but we're going to have this orange theme. So this is going to be the hex code for the first orange. And then the second orange, the hex code will be this color. Okay, so if you look at what it shows right now, it just shows the background as that gradient. As you can see from left to right, it shows that gradient looking color. So we're going to go back down here, and we are going to make sure we have that text to be transparent. And when we have the text to be transparent, that means you're not going to see the text anymore. So as you can see there, we don't see the text. And the thing we have to do is we have to clip the text to the background. So to do that, we're just going to have one word of code saying BG clip text. And you'll be able to see that we have now that the word agency has a nice gradient look to it. So now that we've done the gradient fill, there's one thing I just want to fix. Your text is going to be more hugging the nav bar. The one thing you need to change is you need to change the padding top to a different value. So if you go back to your hero section, instead of padding top 24, switch to padding top 48 or whatever you prefer. And that will be under the main text inside of that div. So other than that, let's keep going with what we have. And we are done with that gradient fill. So right underneath that H1, I will have another H1. You could do H2, doesn't really matter. And this is going to say with a twist. And then we're going to style this as well. We will have a text 5XL on small screens, which are mobile devices. And then on anything more than mobile device, we'll have the text 8XL. We will have the font bold and a Z index of 20. And then right below, we're going to have H2. And this H2 is where we're going to have that typed effect. So it looks like somebody's typing on the screen whilst your customer is looking at it. So first, let's just style this H2. Then we will get to that typed effect and that package we need. So the H2, we are going to have the text 2XL. That will be on mobile devices. On larger devices, we'll have the text 4XL. And then we'll have a margin top of 4 to give us space from that with a twist. And inside of this H2, we're going to say specializing in, and then we could have an empty string. So you need a space there. And then inside of this H2, we actually want to have that typed effect. And the way we're going to do that is we go to Google Chrome. We'll search typed React. And it should be the first thing that pops up, and we can install this package. Right, for me, it has 9,000 weekly downloads, which isn't a lot, but we're just going to copy and paste the installation command line. We will stop the server, install the package, check to make sure the package is installed. We have version 1.2. We will do npm run dev, start the server again. And now we could use all the methods and functions that this package gives us. But we need to import at the top first. So we're going to import typed from React typed. And then I also want to make this a client-side page because we are using a few things that do need client-side rendered. So we're going to have this use client tag at the top. We are going to go back down and we are going to start implementing the typed feature. So to do that, right underneath specializing in inside of the H2, we will have typed in uppercase, and then we need to specify what we want typed by doing an array inside of an object. So we're going to have an array, and then we need to give different strings of what we want typed. You could do 1, you could do 2, you could do 3, you could do 4 different strings. I'm going to do 4 different strings because I wanted to type 4 different things. So as an agency, we do web development, mobile development, UI, UX, and we can say branding. It doesn't have to be exactly what the example was. It could just be whatever you want. And then everything looks good here. And now we have to specify a few properties like the speed that we want to type. So we're going to have type speed, and I'm going to have my type speed at 200. You can mess around with this number and see what you like and what fits your style. The back speed is how fast it types deleting the text. We're going to have it at 100. We're also going to have this looping, so it's going to be on a constant loop as long as they're on the page. And then we're going to have a self-closing tag, and then we'll have an empty string to give us a space. So now let's look at how it looks. So we should have a typed effect on our screen. We can refresh the page because we did stop the server. So, and if you did stop, and make sure your server is still running again. And then as you can see, we are typing here, specializing in web development, which is the first string, mobile development, which is the second string, and it'll just keep going through it on a continuous loop. So that is how you implement this package to get this cool looking effect. So we're going to minimize this. And then right below this H2, we are going to have another div. And this is where we're going to have our button, and we're going to have a p tag right below that button. So underneath H2, like I said, we'll have a div. And we will style this div. And we will have items center, margin left and right of auto. We're just going to justify everything center. Text center. We'll have a padding top of 16 and a z index of 20. So we need a link because we want the button to link to something. So make sure it's imported the link up here. We're going to have the href and it's going to go to pricing. You could go to your contact page, you could go to wherever you want. But we're going to just have it go to pricing, and then we're going to have a button inside of this link. So this button will be see plans, that's what it's going to say for the user. We'll style the button, we'll have the button have a background of black, text white, text 2XL, padding left and right of 10, padding top and bottom of 5. The edges will be rounded large. We will have a shadow of XL. We're going to have the shadow black with a 40% opacity. So you're just going to put /40. And then on hover, so if we hover the button, we want it to kind of show that we're hovering it. So we're going to do hover, and then it's going to be BG black /70. And then we need a cursor of a pointer so it looks clickable. So this is our styling for the button. Let's make sure it looks cool. And as you can see, there is the button with the shadow, the black background, and the opacity when it hovers. So now the next thing we want is the P tag underneath it. So right underneath the link, we will have a P tag, and we're going to say subscriptions based model with no hidden fees. And then we're going to say unlimited request. Oh. And then let's just style this element real quick. So we're going to do padding top of 6, give us some room for the top. We're going to have a font of bold, and we'll do text as large. All right. So there's that, and like I said, I am zoomed in at 150%. That's how it'll look on a regular screen. So everything looks pretty good. I'll zoom in at 110. And then the next thing we want to do is we want to create that carousel effect. So to do that, right above the last closing div, let's create another div. And then inside of this div, we will create a component, which we haven't created yet, but we will right now, called carousel. This will be self-closing tag. We'll get an arrow thrown because we don't have this component. So let's create a new file called carousel.jsx. We'll do RAFCE, remove the import at the top, go back to the hero, and we're going to import the carousel up here. And this is just going to be from the carousel file because we are already in the components folder. So if we go and look what it says, we're going to see the word carousel right here to the left. So now the next step we want to do is create the carousel on our application. To create the carousel that we want to use, we're going to use a package called Swiper. So it says it's the most modern mobile touch slider. I know this package has been around for a while. So I mean, there's a lot of other options out there, so you could pick and choose what you want, but we're going to use this package for now. So we must install it. So we are going to stop the server. We will install the Swiper. Check the package JSON. I am using version 9.3.2. We will start the server back up. And then we are going to go inside of the carousel file, which we have nothing in it right now. I do want to mark this as a use client just in case we use anything that's client-side rendered so we don't get any errors thrown. And we are going to move everything inside the div. And we can start coding stuff out. So I want to import a few things from the package. We are going to import the swiper and the swiper slide. So the swiper is going to wrap the whole swipe, kind of like in a sense the swiper, and the swiper slide is going to be each image slide. So that's going to be the component that we wrap it in as well. And then there's a few other things we have to import. We have to import swiper/CSS. And then I'm just going to copy this down a few times. 1, 2, 3. And we are going to use the effect cover flow. So we need swiper/CSS/effect-cover flow. We also need the pagination. And then we also need the navigation. And then other than that, we have to import it as well down here. So we're going to import the effect cover flow. We're going to import the navigation, and we're going to import the pagination. And this is all from Swiper. Okay, so now let's style this parent div. So we're going to have on larger devices and up, but we're going to have the width be 45% of the device's screen. On very large devices, 2XL and up, we'll have the width be 30% of the screen. And then on mobile devices, we will have it 80% width. And then on all devices, the height just will be 80% of whatever container we're in. We're going to have margin left and right of auto. We'll have margin top of 20. And then we'll have the text to be center. Okay, so right below this, we're just going to have H1 to say what we're doing. So the H1, sum of our work. Just style this up a little bit. So we're going to have a class name. And in this, we're going to have a font bold, text 2XL. And then a margin bottom of 8 to give us room below this H1. Okay, so now when we use, like I said, this swiper effect from this package, it needs to be an eSwiper element that needs to be wrapped. And then we're going to have the swiper slides inside the swiper. But this swiper takes in properties and methods that we can use. So we need to specify which effect we're using. And the effect we are using is the cover flow, which we imported up here. And you can look at the docs and see all of the effects you can use, but we're going to use the cover flow. Grab cursor. So we're going to have the cursor, the grab cursor, which is going to be true. It's going to look like a grabber instead of a pointer. We're going to have the centered slides true. So all the slides will be centered. We will have the slides per view to be auto. We will have a loop, which will be true if it's on a continuous loop. And then we're going to have the cover flow effect take in an object. And this object's going to have a few different properties. And you could play around with these values in here to see what you like the best, but the rotate for me will be 0. The stretch will be 0. The def will be 100. The modifier I'm going to put at 2.5. And the slide shadows we are going to have true. And then right underneath this, we need to close this object. And then underneath that, we will have modules. And the modules are going to take in the effect cover flow, the navigation, and the pagination, which we got up here from Swiper. And then right below this, we're going to have a pagination. And this is going to be equal to an object, which is clickable and true. And then we are going to style this just a little bit, this with the class name. We will have the width of 100% on all devices, and the padding top and bottom on devices of 50 pixels. Okay, so like I said, inside of this huge swiper element, we need swiper slides. And we're going to have 3 of them because I'm going to have 3 images. So we're going to have a swiper slide. And none of these are self-closing tags. So inside the swiper slide, we are going to have a div. And we are going to start styling a few things. So the first div is actually going to be a self-closing div. And the reason why is because this is going to give us this opacity, the black opacity, so we could actually write text on the image. It just makes it cleaner and more modern looking. So we're going to have a background black of 60 opacity. The position is going to be absolute. We're going to have the width full. The height is going to be 30% of the image, so we're going to put height 30. And it is going to start from the bottom 0 and up. And then right below the self-closing div, we're going to have an H1. And this is where we're going to type the name. So I think the first one is like junk removal company. And then we're going to style this real quick. We will have absolute position. Then we're going to have the text white, font bold. And then on bigger screens, we will have text of 3XL. On bigger screens, we're going to have it from the bottom 10 up. And on small devices, like mobile devices, we'll have it bottom up from 2. And then on all devices, it's going to be from the left 10. So we're not hugging that left side. Okay. So everything looks good in the H1. Next thing we need is we need the image. So we need to use the image tag from next image. And then we need to get 3 images. So I'm going to move my images that I got. I just took screenshots of websites that I've made or have affiliations with. And I'm going to move them into my public folder. So we have 1, 2, 3. Now we could just close them here. And now we're able to use them inside of this folder. So I'm just going to import these and copy them how I have them already imported. So I'm going to start importing them from the top. So we're going to import junk. We can name whatever we want from .. And this one is junk removal .jpg. And just to make sure it's working, I'm actually in the right path. We are going to have junk. We will have a self-closing tag, and let me make sure it is actually populating the image. So I got to refresh the page, make sure your development server is running. And as you can see, we have our image right here. And none of it's working because we're not done with it yet, but we're going to have a lot more images where we can swipe through. So that's working so far. Now let's have an alt tag, and then we could also have some styling for this. So we can just do junk, and then the class name. The display is going to be block, and the width will be 100%. Cool. So that is going to be it for the first swiper slide. After that, we can just copy and paste from the swiper slide down 2 more times. So 1, 2. And then we need to import the other images as well. So let me import those 2 real quick. So we're going to import appliance from .. public / appliance plug image dot, it looks like it's a JPEG. Yep, .jpg. And then let's import the last one. Import Netflix from .. public / Netflix image .jpg. Okay, so now we should be able to use all of these images inside of our swiper slides. So the first one was appliance, and the other one was Netflix. And the other thing we have to do is we have to change these names, so these H1s. So we just put Netflix clone, which that's what it is. And then this one we could just put appliance store. Let's just make sure everything's working. And as you can see here, everything looks good and working pretty well. There's one more thing I want to do real quick before continuing. I do want to add a features section. So let me just do this real quick. And the reason why I'm adding this features section is because I want to be able to show you that that navigation bar stays still. So I'm just going to copy some code from a features section that TailwindCSS provides as like a template. And then I'm going to import it right below my hero section. And it's going to be called features. So if we scroll down, as you can see, this navigation bar stays still. And right now, you can see that you can swipe through all of the images. So that allows you to swipe through with the cursor pointer. There's a lot more things you can do with the swiper package. You have to go through the docs, but there's a lot of cool stuff you can do, and there's some of our work. And there is one more thing I want to show, and that has to do with the navigation bar. And now that we're able to scroll on the page, I want to have it where the shadow shows when we start scrolling down. So like, for example, it actually shows there as well. So actually, we don't even need to do that. Everything looks good. Everything's priced right. If we click this, it actually works. It goes to the pricing page, which we didn't create. But this is pretty much how you create a modern navigation bar and modern hero section using NextJS 13 and TailwindCSS. You do not have to copy every TailwindCSS style I did. You can make it your own. I recommend you make it your own, and you could just adjust what you need. But hopefully, if you got through this part of the video, everything was clear and understandable, and you're able to actually take action. So thank you for watching this video, and before you leave, if you could hit that like button and also subscribe for more content, I would greatly appreciate it, and happy coding.